We got a couple of minutes, don't we? Well, I think we're close enough. Welcome, everybody, to our City Council meeting for Monday, September 28th. If we could have a roll call, please, ma'am, to establish a quorum.
Melissa Green,
Here.
Bob Thomas,
Here.
Susan Harmon,
Here.
Harry Meyer,
Yeah.
Mickey Schneider,
Here.
Terry McClung.
I'm here.
We have 6.
All right. We'd stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First thing we have tonight is scheduled for a public hearing on the North Fork Holdings LLC with a Sonic appeal. This is a chance for the public to make comments. And I think, first of all, before we go into that, we do have a letter from a person who is in Chicago and was not able to attend that our city clerk will read into the record.
This is a letter from the property owner, Pat Kearney. Dear members of the City Council, as a result of the Planning Commission's decision not to approve plans Sonic has presented for their new facility at 104 Huntsville Road, I felt compelled to express my thoughts concerning their decision. I currently own the property at 104 Huntsville Road, which has been in my family for over 60 years and has been used as a restaurant, most recently the Ozark Village, for almost 60 years. Being a property owner for approximately 56 acres of land on and around Jordan Road, near the proposed Sonic location, it is my understanding that I am the largest property owner in that area. My property includes the houses at 24 Jordan Road. I obviously have a real interest in traffic patterns in and around Jordan and Huntsville roads. Even though the Ozark Village operated a high-volume, high-customer turnover restaurant business for decades, traffic congestion around Jordan Road was not an issue. I do not expect that the operation of a Sonic restaurant will change anything. Many years ago, my family gave approximately 12 feet of land for a right-of-way from our property to the city of Eureka Springs to create Jordan Road. Certainly, because we have a house down that road, it was the family's expectation that we would be able to use the road while at the same time making the best use of the restaurant property. I believe the best use of the property is a restaurant. In addition, it appears to me that the operation of the Sonic would have less impact on the city's services, water and sewer, than the Ozark Village had during its many years of operation. Also, with the completion of the new Sonic, it stands to reason that city tax revenues should increase with their operation. Currently, I am in Chicago, and I do apologize for not being able to be there with you this evening. I do want to thank you for your time and for your consideration of this request. Respectfully submitted, Patricia Davy Kearney.
All right, do we have some other people who would like to speak on this issue? Please limit your time to 3 minutes if you can. So we do have some other business and other people here. And state your name, please, and your address.
Yes. One moment, please. My name is Christy Kendrick, and I live at 116 Jordan Drive. I know that you have all seen the site plans for the Sonic development and my letter with its attachments that denounced the proposed Sonic development as being too dangerous for traffic at the intersections of 6223 South and Jordan Drive, as threatening future improvements to those intersections, whether they be a traffic light or a traffic circle, by making those future improvements infinitely more expensive, as being too costly for the city, requiring it to lay new sewer lines and to hire additional police for traffic control at these intersections, and is violating city code. I also know that you will hear arguments from the landowners' representatives that at this site there once was a restaurant serving busloads of people, and it was not a problem. However, at that time, the buses entered and exited through a parking lot that was once located where the Quality Inn now stands. Additionally, our zoning regulations were not then what they are now. The landowners' representatives will also argue if City Council denies this development, the land will be landlocked and of no worth. However, there is no reason why a commercial development that produces less traffic could not be approved by planning for this site. Do not overlook this development's violations of city code, which could result in the city, rather than the developer, being liable for such violations if this matter goes into litigation, much like the Roundhouse. What I would like council to concentrate on is the portion of the city code that states that the purpose of the zoning for the contemporary commercial district is to produce groupings that are attractive and, quote, arranged with every consideration for driving safety, close quote. Very notably, what is not listed as a consideration in a zoning decision is economic development. Therefore, you may not consider granting this application because it would be a business-friendly thing to do. In any case, there is no reason why, if Eureka Springs is a desirable market for Sonic, that it could not find another more suitable location. Please do not overrule planning's decision, and please don't send it back to planning. RDOT will not permit them an entrance and exit onto 62 or 23 South, so Jordan Drive is the only option. Thank you for your consideration.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
My name's David Gallia. I live at 106 Jordan Drive, a neighbor of Christie, and I've been at 3 or 4 of these meetings with the Planning Commission and City Council in support of her. One of the things I wanted to do tonight was to give a hypothetical kind of a story. Imagine, if you will, you have a choice between 2 businesses located at the spot we're talking about. I think we all can agree that it's a good spot to have a business because there's plenty of traffic at that intersection of 62 and 23 South, which makes it attractive to a business. But you have a choice between 2 businesses, so just imagine it. And one business, the revenue that you get is roughly $20 per car, let's say. The other business is more like $40 per car. Well, if both businesses have similar operating expenses and must make a similar profit, you would obviously need to have $40 a car in order to would be safer. Because you would have less people negotiating the intersection. And if you've been there, you kind of see the intersection as just 23 and 62, but there's also the third road, which is Jordan Road, which makes it quite a bit more complicated intersection. So what it means, if you need to have more traffic, more cars coming into that business, coming into Jordan Road and exiting on Jordan Road, it obviously, to me, provides more opportunity for collisions or mistakes or somebody running a stop sign or somebody being impatient and cutting somebody off, causing an accident. Now, I know that if there's an accident, it'll have an impact on the city. Obviously, the police will have to respond. It'll cost money. If there's anything that the residents and the council can think of to mitigate that, the mitigation will have to be put in place, like, say, for instance, a stoplight, or, we talk about a roundabout or something like that. That would be fine. But right now, we're talking about putting a Sonic there, which is not a real bad idea, except for the fact that the revenue that the Sonic will be dependent on is going to be, in that neighborhood of $20 a car, which means a lot more cars have to go through there, which provides that opportunity for a lot more accidents, and the safety would be a consideration on it. So thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Council, my name is Gene Bland. I live at 408 Brandon Road, here just outside of Eureka. I hear the reason it's going to be a much busier intersection with the Sonic being there.
Holler up, please.
Pardon?
Speak
Get
up,
closer
please.
to the microphone.
Okay, thank you. That it's going to be a much busier intersection with the construction of the Sonic there. And some of you folks have been here for a while will remember there's been 2 restaurants there. Where the Quality Inn is now was the Ozark Gardens restaurant. And that was a parking lot for it. So it was a restaurant before next to the Ozark Village. So we had 2 restaurants there already. Now we only going to have 1 restaurant there. I did note that Jordan Road, the first 9 lots are zone C2. Now I know there's people that built houses there, but it's still commercial zoning down the first 9 lots on Jordan Road. So it could be commercial all the way down Jordan Road, and I assume the city had some reason to zone that down Jordan Road to be C2. Talking about intersections, I assume most of you, if not all of you, have exited Hart's Family Center, where College, Hart's, and the quarters come together, have exited the O'Reilly Automotive on Wall Street, where Vintage Cargo on Wall Street, have exited the Legends, the old Builder Supply building. Are it a bad intersection? Are they dangerous intersections, Eureka Springs? Yes, sir, they are. I can't do anything about that. That's just the way our town is built. I think Ms. Carney, I represent Ms. Carney, and that's my purpose for being here. I think she did a good job in representation of her property, and she did donate 12 feet, her family did, for Jordan Road, but I guess now we're not going to be able to use it. Thank you very much for your time.
Can you hear me through the mask? Yeah. Okay. I'm Marilyn Hunt. I live here on Hillside in Eureka Springs. And now I got to get my notes back up here. I'd just like to make a couple of points. Planning and zoning approved the very first plan that they had. Then the state said that there was some access problems. So they have resubmitted documents 5 times. That shows a very cooperative spirit on the part of the Sonic project. They've been willing to give, every time the city said, well, you'd also need to do this, they said, okay, that they do it. And they are basically footing most of the bills for that. But I think the fact that they are willing to be cooperative is a big plus in their favor. Currently, the city receives no revenues off of that property, and they haven't for, I think you've had it on the market, 10, 15, 16 years. That property has been an eyesore. It looks bad to other potential investors coming to town to see this building that has now been said that it can't be saved. So something needs to happen there, and there's not buyers knocking down the doors to purchase that property, especially a viable company like the Sonic. The traffic count, I went and looked at the traffic count records. They're actually lower now than they were 10, 15 years ago when it was a thriving restaurant. So I can't see that the impact is going to greatly affect the traffic, especially now that they've moved the Sonic way back. The only entrance to 62 is off of Jordan. This is not in the historic district, so there's plenty of other chains along there. I know some people say, well, I don't want another chain. Well, they're the ones that can afford that property. Sure, it'd be nice to have a little mom and pop. They can't pay that kind of money and put up a new building and have a viable business. Honestly, I don't see a downside to approving it. The Planning and Zoning had approved it the first time. The next time there was only 4 members. 1 member said no, 3 said yes. So I don't see any great objection by Planning and Zoning. Thank you for your consideration.
Hello, I'm Wade Williams. I'm an attorney for Ms. Kearney. I've got an office at 41 Kings Highway. And I'm not sure there's a whole lot I can add to the things that have already been said in support of this, but I can point out a couple things that might need to be reemphasized. The potential purchaser of this property has proved that they want to be a good neighbor. As was stated just a moment ago, they've gone back, I believe, 5 times to revise plans to try and accommodate concerns that were expressed. In the end, this is a commercial piece of property that's going to end up with a commercial usage. And Jordan Drive becomes an issue primarily because the state has decided that they cannot exit onto the state highway. I can't tell because I wasn't involved in the specific discussions with the state how much of that actually had to do with the city's request that the state consider that area for a roundabout. But the roundabout currently is not anything that the city has provided the money for or on the books or even really in planning with regard to the state. Regardless, the state has said they cannot exit out onto the highway, and therefore that leaves Jordan Drive as the only access for this property. There was some commentary a minute ago about the value that a vehicle potentially would bring in. And certainly a Sonic drive-in is not going to bring in the same traffic as a Ruth's Chris. They're going to make more per customer at Ruth's Chris than they are at Sonic. But I guarantee you that if Ruth's Chris can generate the same turnover that Sonic can, they're going to do that regardless of how much they're making per car. Any mom and pop operation that goes in there is going to have that same concern. One of the comments that was made had to do with historic traffic. And those of you that have been here for 20 plus years all remember when any turn onto the highway took time, because there was a solid line of traffic up and down the highway, not just at 3:30 when the school lets out, but all day long. And yet there was a viable restaurant that operated there for years and did not create any additional problem with regard to the traffic issue and some of the concerns that have been expressed. I'd ask the council to seriously consider the proposal that's been made and the opportunity that provides for the city to have a new venue, a new place for people to go, something else for people to enjoy when they come to our community, the jobs that it creates within the town, and the economic development overall that will provide for the city. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Laura Jo Smoley. I reside at 17 Pivot Rock Road, number 2. And I'd also like to make note that I am the chair of the Planning Commission. A few things I'd like to bring up. The actual issues that come under concern are very few. Arkansas Department of Transportation has the purview to state where driveways will be. They actually have civil engineers, they conduct traffic counts, and they are quite experienced at determining egress and ingress for the safety of the citizens. If you go to Bentonville or Rogers, you will see that the side street entrances are happening at all new commercial developments throughout those two towns, and I would suspect that that is throughout the rest of the state as well. However, we should not conflate that with the interest of the developer in how the property is going to be used. Lots of opinions on, I like this kind of business, I don't like that kind of business, but what the actual burden was that the developer meet the code, which they have done 100%. All of their plans detail everything from landscaping down to the width of the parking spaces. It 100% meets the code. Should you vote no by the code, their next step is to go to the courts. So it doesn't go back to the Planning Commission. It really rests with you. And the simple truth is they've met all the requirements and there is no foundation for a no vote. Thank you very much.
Is that, anyone else like to speak on this subject? Well, we still have the microphone open and public comments for this public hearing. I don't see anybody jumping up and running to the microphone, so I'm taking that as a no. If not, I will therefore conclude and close this public hearing for the North Fork Holdings on the Sonic appeal. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Get a motion to approve?
So moved.
I need a second.
Second.
All right, Susan, second. We got an item down here on item 4 that we only had one person. Do we want to have that on the agenda or not?
If it would be for a discussion instead of a creation, I will second it. Is that all right, Harry?
You second it if you want. That's your opinion. It's your option.
She wants to know if it's going
It can be a discussion instead of a creation.
Well, we got to discuss to begin with.
Okay.
Sounds like a yes.
If it's, as long as it's just to start out as a discussion, I will, yes.
So that's what it says. It's creation of council.
Okay.
Discussion of the creation of the
Okay.
committee, council committees.
Oh, then I'm not going to do it. I will do just a discussion.
All right. Any other comments? Any other changes? I get a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so moved. Get a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Any additions, corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of the minutes for August 24th, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. That brings us up to commission. Excuse me. We got an HDC to vote on Randy Maddox for position 1 on HDC.
Has that been settled yet?
No, as far as I know. We're just bringing that up because we said we're going to vote on it this time.
Okay.
Now we need a motion. Mr. McClung?
Had his hand up first.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve Mr. Maddox for position 1 on the HDC.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The number one problem that several of us are having with this issue is the fact that he has an ongoing legal action with a neighbor. Now, even though the legal action does not tie directly into HDC coverage, by allowing this person to sit on a commission with a legal action happening that, say, if he was going for planning, could have an effect, we are opening the door so that anybody in town who has a problem with a commission, with a neighbor, whatever, could get on a commission and then use the power from that commission to go against the person they're having a problem with. We're opening the door for this. They can claim discrimination, all kinds of stuff. No matter what happens, the city gets sued. This would be a much better situation if he reapplied after all legal action was through. We have no problem other than this legal problem. But like I said, this is opening a door that can really hurt the city in the long run, not necessarily from him, but by others who would come along.
Ms. Harmon?
I think if you use that reasoning, any one of us could have a legal action at this point, sitting at this table or any other commission that is currently on a commission or on city council. They could have a legal action against a neighbor or anything like that. So then the question becomes, if you don't allow someone to go on a commission because of a legal action, does that mean that each one of us, if I had a legal action against someone, does that mean I have to go ahead and sit out from city council until that is settled? I mean, you have both sides of that, and I don't, I'm not comfortable talking about someone's personal issues at this table in this format based on an application for a commission.
Mr. Thomas?
Yeah, I would like Ms. Schneider to please stop saying "we," because I'm not in agreement with her. Basically, you have neighbors who are having a conflict and they have to settle it, and you are trying to get the city council to take sides. You're trying to tie this man's hands in order to get the job that he wants and that he's qualified for. And I am not interested in being involved in that. So please don't say "we."
Ms. Snyder?
We is like the universal you. It doesn't mean you personally, it means you in general. Good Lord, Bob.
It means city council when you're here.
No, it means in general. And I understand thoroughly what you're saying, Susan, and I understand and agree with that. By knowing ahead of time that an action's going on, that seems to be the problem. Not what could come down the road, but it's because it's already been started. That's all I'm saying on that.
Mr. McClung?
Mr. Mayor, at the last meeting, we said that we were going to bring this up and vote on it, so I want to call the question and proceed.
I got a motion to call the question. Okay, it's council. All in favor of calling the question?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye. Is that a vote? Yes. All those not in favor of calling the question? All right, question's been called. All those in favor of Randy Maddox for position 1 of the HDC, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No.
Abstain?
Okay, roll call.
Ms. Harmon?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Abstain?
Mr. Meyer?
No.
Ms. Green?
No.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. McClung?
Yes.
I vote yes to pass the, for Mr. Maddox to be on the HDC. All right, that brings us up to our next item of business, which is public comments for speakers. 3 minutes per speaker, please. If we have any other issues that the public would like to talk about.
Hearing me definitely shouldn't be a problem. Cameron Denauer, resident Eureka Springs. While I was on the ESPRC, I became aware of possible unethical and unlawful behavior on the part of some ESPRC commissioners and an elected official in City Hall. At that time, I decided that I would best be able to serve the citizens and make change by not having my hands tied in investigation of said activities, and I resigned my seat. What I have provided to you tonight is just a small sample of emails and text messages, not only of several ESPRC commissioners, but of an elected city official. In this informational evidence, it appears that these individuals are working directly against the interest of the city of Eureka Springs, its qualified electors, and specifically Eureka Springs Parks and Recreation Commission, its staff and operations, by means of unlawful meetings, vote planning, coup planning, the premature sharing of unapproved and unofficial documents, incomplete FOIA requests, and gross dissemination of misinformation. As evidenced by some of these individuals come out and they admit that they know what they are doing is wrong and unethical by saying things like, "This is an ex parte," or "You didn't get this from me." But they shrug it off and continue their behavior, with one commissioner starting a dialogue with someone who could be called a non-elector obstructionist on what he could and could not get away with in private meetings and conversations with other ESPRC officials. So I would like to take this time to thank Pat Costner for supplying him with such information and documentation. In the end, it has provided the very information that outlines they knew what they were doing was unlawful and unethical, but continue to do so. The tax-paying people of Eureka Springs deserve so much better than this, and so does its visitors. We, the electors, ask the council to take swift and appropriate measures against these commissioners and their self-documented evidence, which you have in your hands. Thank you for your time and service, and I look forward to each one of you doing the right thing for Eureka Springs and its tax-paying electors.
Do we have anyone else for public comments? All right, seeing none, then have the public comments closed. That brings us up to our new business, which is the first item of business is a council decision on North Fork Holdings, LLC with Sonic Appeal.
Motion to discuss.
Second.
All right. Who wants to go first? Mr. Meyer?
I'd like to ask the city attorney if the request is meets code, or if it violates some code.
Are you able to hear us from Mr. Weaver? Wave your hand.
I can hear you.
Okay.
I'm trying to get it where it can respond.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right. As far as I'm aware, it meets the specifications and requirements of the code.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? We have the Planning Commission here. We have members of the Planning Commission and Ms. Snyder.
Okay, first, do we have a picture of the roundabout?
No. There's no plan of the roundabout yet.
Okay, so what is actually being said is, more than likely, if this is approved, there's going to be a roundabout. Isn't this basically what's being insinuated, inferred, or understood?
I'm not sure what your question is.
If we approve, go against the Planning Commission and approve the location of this Sonic, police has said no, fire has said no, Public Works has said no, state has said no. All these different entities have said no. So if we say yes, what happens?
That's not quite true. This is, I'm sure the council realized the planning commission was a vote 3 in favor and 1 against. Therefore, because it did not have 4 positive votes, the motion failed.
So,
It doesn't mean that they were against it. So we don't need to put words into their mouths here.
they
The roundabout
voted
has nothing to do with this issue at this point in time.
Well, but see, that's the problem. It does have an issue right now. Because from what's being said by everybody, the only way this is possible to work, mostly because of the school location, the only way for this is possible to work is if we end up with the roundabout.
The highway department does not agree with that. They seem to think that it will work with the exit and exit off of Jordan Drive.
Then why do we have a stack of papers like that showing all these different things and prices and everything for a roundabout? It's showing we've got a stack of papers that's showing the same basic picture with slightly different locations of the building and the road that would be used.
You've got the plans that were submitted to the planning department.
We also have the numbers for what a roundabout would cost the city, which is well over $3 million of taxpayer money. And that's just the roundabout. That's not moving water lines, sewer lines, gas lines.
This has got to do with the appeal, so please stick to the subject.
Well, this is because it's all tied in. How can we say yes if it's going to cost the taxpayers over $3 million? How can we say no if it's not going to? It all ties together. We have to look at the whole picture, not a teeny part.
Ms. Harmon?
The only way that we can do a roundabout is if this table approves it. So it still has to go to a vote because it would be spending taxpayers' money. So that's all I'm going to say on that. I don't need anything back. I do have a couple questions, though, in regards to RDOT. My understanding is there were some other in and out suggestions as far as in and out of that particular property that were denied, but the Jordan Drive was not denied. Is that correct, Mr. Mayor?
I believe that's correct.
Okay. And then there has been some discussion in some of the emails that we received, specifically from Dwayne Allen regarding sewer lines and water lines. I just want to know if you have in front of you the cost to the city. I know there was a share that was...
No, I don't, but Mr.
Okay,
Allen is here.
Okay, can I ask him to come up then and review those or confirm or deny that there is a cost to the city for the additional, is it sewer lines and water lines? I know there was a share that Sonic agreed to fund. And I really just am looking for a cost, you know, the total amount.
Speaking on the cost,
Speak into the microphone, please, Dwayne.
we're talking cost of relocation. We, as you know, we did a variance on the one that they're actually coming up against, which is against code, but we went around that. But if and when those lines will have to be moved, it doesn't mean a roundabout. It could be a traffic signal, whatever. And it could be the state could do that, or we could ask for that. But and I'd guessed it a little lower, but they right now are looking at the amount of lines we have in there. We're looking at $400,000 presently to move those lines out of the state right away.
Okay, so are you saying in the location right now, Jordan Drive, that Sonic is wanting to use as the in and out of that particular location, that Sonic, once it's built, is there any cost involved as it stands right now today? Or is the cost associated with if a roundabout goes in or whatever is determined down the road? Is that what you're saying?
Right, the future cost.
Okay.
That we wanted to make sure everybody understands that 400,000 would turn in over $1 million. This type of development will abut the state right-of-way and the city right-of-way, so there will be no, we cannot move to the west anymore, so which we cannot hold that against it, but it shouldn't have been laid in the right-of-way, but it is. And, but the point that the state has approved them coming out of Jordan, they haven't approved anything. The liability on this project, they back clean out. We have Jordan, we can allow that, but there will be no state involvement whatsoever in that.
Okay, so the denial from you on, when I don't want to say, there was a driveway permit, correct? That they have to obtain in order to put that Sonic in?
Right, and we've looked at, in which, they have talked about working with us. It needs to be overlaid, and it has to be, we wanted compaction tests. We do not want the city to be responsible for the increased maintenance on that stretch
Okay,
of
so
street.
as it stands right now, with this proposal in front of us, they're willing to go ahead and make improvements to that section of Jordan Drive. There will be no additional cost, as it stands right now, to the city.
Well, we haven't had anything signed except on the moving of the one line, but the street, we haven't anything in writing that they will take care of that. That's still, like we said.
Okay,
the
and that
utility
one
end is
line will
still-
cost us what?
Well,
Nothing, because they're saying they'll cover that?
At this point, I believe they will. So, like you said, the cost is what, my point was that the future, at
Right.
some point, and who knows when that could be, of moving those lines.
But again, there would have to be an approval of a roundabout in the future
Yes, or
to use
just any
those
kind of.
taxpayer dollars in order to fund that project, if it were even approved. So,
Right, it'd have to be a improvement of that intersection to the degree where those have to be moved. Any kind
all
of-
the additional costs that you're talking about are based on an if it's approved in the future.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And then I have one other question, real quick. I'm going to agree with, I think it was, I know his first name is David, that there are several locations on 62 that are interesting, to say the least, to get in and out of, dependent upon which side of the street you're on and which business you have visited. But I do want to know, and I'm not sure where the roundabout discussion came from. I know that Sonic has or did submit several different versions of their plan, and the last version includes the roundabout for possible future. My question just really is who proposed that to them? Was it planning proposed
The roundabout?
a roundabout,
I
or
did.
was it you did?
I've been working with the highway department for 4 or 5 years.
Okay. All right, I was just curious as to where the roundabout discussion started, and,
Between myself and the highway department,
okay, but then it was conveyed to the Sonic.
yes.
Okay, and was that done through you, or was that done through planning?
It was done through Mr. Allen
Okay, okay,
and the highway department, actually.
Yes, and, like I said, they gave a cost on that and different, let's say if we wanted a light or different costs along those lines. But we were trying the best we can within this project to save the opportunity to improve that intersection. At some point with growth and basically planning that we don't want to be where we lock that out where it's impossible to do anything with that intersection. So we were trying to which they'd worked with us to move those, and we gave that variance to try to set it in the best we could. That's the best, and then unfortunately, we got back to where the state will not allow any access, so we'd have to come back and look at it, and then that, of course, gets beyond me, and we're into a safety issue with it could be 500 more cars a day, kind of looking at traffic counts, we're looking at, quite a increase right there, so that's where we are now.
and is that based on numbers from similar Sonic?
Yeah, and they had, Dry Forks Holding had started a traffic study for this project, and the state told them to pull it out because no matter what it said, they were not going to approve anything.
Okay.
And the other point is the state, they're not going to disapprove or approve anything based on us. They're not going to work with us in any fashion along those lines. They made that decision on the safety. of that
Would you explain that?
Their decision was not based on the roundabout or our wishes as far as the driveway when they pulled out on this project. It was based on basically their liability, their decisions.
At one time, they had another exit, didn't they? on that?
Yeah, at one time they had discussed they were going to approve a driveway there, but they will not at this point.
Right. Mr. Meyer?
The access on Jordan Drive that the highway department wants them to do is because of safety. They don't want extra multiple exits onto the highway if they can avoid it. They want to have it exit onto a street so that you come to a stop sign and it's further away from the rest of the intersection.
I'm sorry, but basically, they can't stop us if we allow that to happen. It's not that they are suggesting they use that. We already have a permit. We have Jordan, and that's up to us. If we allow that to come in, they can't.
Well, I fully understand that.
Right. But yeah, it's based on their liability is why they turned it down. So the liability comes back completely on the city on this project.
Ms. Green?
Well, I have a couple questions for Laura Jo.
Don't go too far, Dwayne.
Yeah, don't.
Dwayne?
Dwayne, don't go too far.
Don't go too far either.
Before that, hey, Mr. Weaver, is the city liable? Is the city liable for allowing access on Jordan Drive?
What do you mean by liable? Are we likely to get sued?
Yeah.
We might get sued. The chances of us losing, I don't think are that great. The highway department has a duty to provide a safe highway. If they believe that the intersection there is incorrect, they have the ability to upgrade the intersection and put in a traffic control device to control the entrance.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. In February, Laura Jo,
Yes.
you all approved the original plan or the plan submitted at that time, correct?
We planned with 2 modifications.
Okay. And
They were going to introduce landscaping to the rear of the property where a wall was going to be built, and we wanted to ensure that the greenery was improved along with that. The second one was that the plan would be reviewed by the Department of Transportation for ingress and egress.
Is that why it came back to you this time?
Yes, that's why it came back, and the plans we saw were signed off by DOT.
Okay. In February, did Public Works and the police sign off on what their...
No, that happened at this most recent meeting here in September. And we asked for documentation showing what their opinions were based on, and we did not have any at the meeting, and we have not received any since.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Thomas?
Yeah, I'd just like to hear from the one no vote on planning and why that person voted no.
That would be...
Is that legal?
Is it legal? If she can tell us why they voted, 3 of them voted
No,
yes.
seriously, I don't know if it's legal. Is it legal? Where do you go?
Mr. Weaver? Did you hear the question?
Only a part of it.
Is it legal to ask a planning commissioner why he voted no?
You can ask, but they're not required to answer.
Takes care of that.
Well, he's coming down.
Did you hear that, Tom? Okay.
I don't think he's... You want to state your name, please?
Tom Buford, live at 32 Dogwood Ridge, Eureka Springs, Arkansas.
Get a little closer, please, sir, to the microphone.
Somebody mentioned earlier, I think in the conversation, that this had been changed 5 times. It has not come before planning 5 times. I don't know where that came from. And I think that we did approve it earlier, a demolition for the building, which we did approve, I think, by unanimous vote. This last new construction application, we had, as you say, 4 people at the planning meeting. There was a letter from Public Works that basically said the developer had agreed to move one line, I believe a sewer line, but had not agreed to move the water and some other lines there. And that that cost would have to be borne by the city. There was also some information in the letter from Public Works that they were still waiting on Arkansas DOT to get back to them on why they turned down the 23, 62, whatever entrance there to the property and put it all on Jordan Road. And I just felt like until Public Works worked out with the developer on who was going to pay the cost of utilities, planning shouldn't sign off on it, because it kind of put the pressure then on the city. If the developer did not work it out, the city would have to bear the burden of replacing the water and sewer lines at its cost. And that should not be a planning decision, but a city decision about where the money's coming from. And that's why I voted against it.
Mr. McClung?
I have one question for Dwayne. If this project was not before us today, and the state wanted to put in, we had an agreement to put in a roundabout there, who would have to pay the expense to move those water lines? If the property was not changed any different than what it is today?
Like we said, the city would bear the cost of that under any circumstances. And we wanted to get out that would increase, but it would still be on the city. Anytime anything's done, they'll ask for those removed, and then it'll be up to the city to get those out of the right-of-way. Of course, depending on the project, how much that right-of-way extends. And like Tom said, we were trying to get them to say if they come in, and of course we could ask, or they could come in and prove that if the traffic got to such an extent or accidents, the state could improve that without the city, being involved also at some point. But we wanted to know, would they still allow that access when that became property of the right-of-way? Jordan becomes right-of-way of the state. They will not speculate, which is understandable. They will not speculate about the future. All they will state is where we are today.
I have one other question.
Yes.
Did they indicate, they being the state, that if that Sonic was there, is there still plenty of surface area, including, I guess, the airspace over the hollow there? They'd have to backfill some of that, I would think. Is there room to put in a roundabout?
Yes, we believe there is, but like I said, it just becomes more expensive with the utilities in, but we believe we still have enough room to construct a roundabout there, like I said, with enough fill.
Then I guess I do have one more question, and that would be if the Sonic was on location and it was there, and the roundabout was to be put in, would that affect moving those lines at that time? Does that interrupt their business? Does it affect their property?
Yes, it would, because unfortunately, right there's between the 2 pressure planes. That's where the 12-inch Carol Boone comes in, unfortunately, right there. That whole west side of town is on a pump. A 6-inch force main actually drops in a manhole right in front of the new Sonic. So anything there would have greatly affect. Of course, we'd have to close that down and pull all that out. But you know, anybody will be affected there, no matter who you
Sure,
are.
no matter who's there.
Right.
Okay.
Or if no one's there.
Yeah, this type of development will just make it almost impossible to come back to the west. And then, of course, you're looking at fall, so we're looking at, you know, sewer lines and that. So we can't hold that against them, but that's something that we just wanted to make sure that planning knew to take in consideration of the increased cost.
Okay, then my statement then, thank you, Dwayne. Well, my statement to the council and to the mayor then is that at this point in time, we have no commitment from the state, no indication that they're going to provide any money of any kind. The wish may be for a roundabout, but, you know, we wished for that or something like that for years, thought it would be nice to have, but I can't help, I just got to giggle for a second.
If wishes were horses.
Then I'll be done. So, you know, you got what's happening, and then the future that you have absolutely no idea about what it's going to be. You know, I remember when the Ozark Village was there, and I've not been here all my life, but I've been here a while. And, excuse me, the buses, there was a gas station on the other side of the Ozark Village, and the buses did not go through that gas station to get back out on the highway. They went out right there at the Ozark Village on the Jordan Drive side of the Y there. And it was extremely busy. The difference today is the school. And so there's some heavy traffic there, but it's not any different than what it was in busy season before. That's for darn sure. This town used to be extremely busy with lots of traffic, and I've seen that place just packed and packed full of cars, and you know, it takes a little bit longer for people to get out, but they're out and they're gone in due time, and so, you know, the big thing for me is the future of the roundabout. Excuse me, and it's so doggone iffy that I really can't count it. Somebody talked me into putting that into the drawing, and that's what threw the monkey wrench in it. If that wasn't reflected in that survey, it'd been a no-brainer. But I just got to get clear in my mind about that roundabout, because if it was something that we could afford, I'd love to have it. And Dwayne, I understand completely what you're saying. It's that, but we don't have the money, and if it's ever going to happen, we're going to have government intervention on it anyway, because we're poor. And so, you know, we'll always have our hand out for that roundabout, and maybe someday we'll get it filled. That's all.
Ms. Snyder?
Okay, Dwayne, you were told not to leave the mic. Come on back. Okay, I'm going to read one paragraph from Dwayne's letter to us that says, unless RDOT changes their stance, our planned intersection improvements will not be a possibility, as the portion of Jordan in question would become state right-of-way, and the Sonic driveway would have to be closed for the proposed roundabout. Even if they are granted a driveway into the proposed roundabout, the city's expense during the intersection improvements will increase. Dry Forks Holdings has agreed to move one sewer line, but the other sewer line and multiple water lines will have to be moved as well. And that is at the expense of the city, Dwayne?
Yes, when those are moved, and like I said,
Louder?
we you know, with
Speak into the microphone, Dwayne.
you know, with the you know, the roundabout is just, you know, the traffic signal's not a possibility, and then the roundabout is the safest mode for cutting facility. So we're looking at that, and like I said, who knows when that could happen, but that's, we think if, like you said, that type of development is probably going to hinder that roundabout. And then if we, any kind of a development, it could be a traffic light or just straightening that out, there's going to put more cost on the city, but the city will be responsible for that either way. Even, you know, the state could pay 100% of the construction costs, we would still have to move those utilities.
Okay, so if we would allow Sonic to go ahead and do their thing, we would have to pay to move the other water, sewer lines and all that. If a roundabout down the road goes in, doesn't that have to be moved again?
Well,
Those
no,
lines?
we, you know, if it's moved, if we move it, it would be sufficient to cover that. So if
Okay, so we would know where to put it for in case of.
right, and it's preliminary drawings and nothing you can go off of, but we have looked at what a roundabout would where it would fit in that intersection. Yes.
Okay, and just out of curiosity, at that intersection, if you have cars coming from the Berryville side on 62 heading towards Harts, how do they fit onto a roundabout, or would the roundabout be offset so that part could just go?
Well, it would basically be part of the roundabout. It would blend in. So it would if you did it, it would all blend together and.
So instead of just making a curve, you'd have to hit a roundabout and do all of that?
Well, like I said, that's, you know, that's there's nothing concrete on that, but we do know at some point that intersection needs to be improved. We do, you know, we can all agree on that.
Okay, but so we would end up paying for one sewer line, and do you have any idea how many water lines we have there?
Well, yeah, there's the 6 and the 8, and then that comes back, like I said, the 10 that crosses, and then that's the only feed you have to Passion Play tank in and out on that side of town. So that the line controls the whole upper pressure plane commercial end of town. So
Okay, and what about gas lines and electric? Do those get affected?
well, gas would be involved to some degree, yes, but
So we're still talking even more money.
well, if those utilities, if that happens, if they're laying in the right-of-way, they would be responsible to move that out. Anybody that's in the
okay.
right-of-way would be responsible to get their stuff out of there.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Green?
Stay here.
Pardon.
Wait.
I believe everybody gets the opportunity to speak once. before
Well,
people
I think
speak.
we're working on, I'm sorry, have you not
can-
spoken?
he
I
can-
thought you already spoke,
He can-
Mr. Thomas.
can-
I
Go
guess I
ahead.
did.
Did you already speak, or did
I
you not?
did. Yeah, I asked Mr. Bruford to come down. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, Dwayne, now, I might have misunderstood you, but did I hear you say earlier on that, what is it, Dry Forks had offered to pay for the water lines, or no?
Well, if anything happens to that one sewer line that's close, we have a signed agreement that they will be responsible to move it, or if anything comes in there. The other lines not involved because they're not infringing on those right now. We can't ask them to move it with speculation, but we had asked them. They had agreed if that manhole and that one sewer line that they're going to be infringing into our 7.5 feet, they'd be responsible from now on to move that.
Okay, so that would be, so there's, how much, I know I'm kind of missing some things, but how much is your idea of the cost to the city without a roundabout?
Well, right now, we're looking at, you know, if we move everything, we're looking at basically slightly under $500,000. And then say, after the Sonic comes in, we're looking at probably, you know, over $1 million. It'll double the cost of it at least, so.
And that's the city's cost?
Yes.
Okay. And I do want to make note that the planning commissioner that voted no was, I believe, because of questions to you that weren't answered at that time, in all fairness to him. Okay, that's all I have.
Oh,
Mr. Thomas?
Yeah, I'm confused.
Okay, stay here.
Oh, my.
On the water lines. I thought I heard you say earlier that if that was an empty lot, and they put in the roundabout, the city would still have to move all this stuff, and the cost would be the same. regardless of if there's a business there or not.
Right.
Okay, don't go, just stop right there. Because the other question I have then is, if they put in this roundabout, how can people talk about the Sonic being landlocked? Because obviously the State Department is not going to landlock the residents down Jordan. Are we never going to see those people again? They're going to have to allow Jordan to get into 62 somehow.
If we landlock Jordan, the state would not care in one iota of what we do. Basically, we have access from the street onto the highway at this point, obviously. So that doesn't mean they'd have to grant anything else.
No, but it means they're not going to come in and landlock Jordan Street.
Right. That's like you said. The possibility is that would hinder the type of design that could be done in that intersection.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I ask one more question?
We're taking turns here.
Okay.
Mr. Meyer?
Dwayne, are you saying that one design of a roundabout may require condemning part of that property so that the city can move lines cheaper?
No, and like the mayor said, we're not trying to base this on a roundabout.
Well, you keep going back to the $500,000 or $1 million if the Sonic goes in. I don't understand.
Well, you basically, they're pulling curb all the way out to the utilities. We gave them a variance to come in on the utilities. So if you set back at the original location, there's still some footage there. It would just increase the cost. It doesn't change anything but the increased cost. You would still have a cost, but if you can't move as much that way, so you're going to have to go a different direction.
Well, it's speculation on when we're going to have to move lines anyway. It's only when the highway department says, hey, you got to move your lines.
That's correct. That's why we wanted to pass it on. The way we look at that, that's planning for the future. And the way we look at it, we don't want to say, we know where we're at, and we almost went bankrupt this spring, but we don't want to look at it that way. We want to say we're thinking positive, and at some point with growth and as this improves, that intersection is going to come back at some point and be improved. So we just want to make that out there. It's not my total decision, but those facts should be discussed.
Well, it seems that we've had years to discuss this while that property sat there vacant, and now that someone wants to purchase it and actually add a viable business to the city, which is a good plan, now we're talking about there's no plan. We don't have a drawing of a roundabout. We don't have anything from the highway department. The city hasn't done anything. You've talked to people, but we didn't get any drawing of any proposal, so it's speculation. Until that comes before us, I don't see why we need to speculate.
Well, that's like I said, that's why, if you're only planning for tomorrow, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Mr. McClung?
We certainly, excuse me. It sounds to me like you're saying what you'd like to do is pass the financial burden off to move those additional lines to the people wanting to put in the Sonic, and that's pretty much of an unfair burden on them. I understand it, and it makes good sense to try and do that if you can, but that $400,000 to $500,000 you're talking about can also make that project non-viable for that person. And so, it's great if everybody's pockets were deep enough to do things like that, and they could be, good citizens and make that kind of a donation to our future, and it would be wonderful. Not everyone can do that, and it would put them clear out of the picture to try and get them to do it in the first place, in my opinion.
Right. No, and you're correct. We obviously we presented that with, we can't, obviously, we can't hold them to moving all those lines. And we held them to the ones that were within that footage.
Right.
So,
And that's certainly fair, and they've agreed to do that, and so all is well and good. I don't think we can restrict this project or not, based on the information that's been presented to me, I don't see how we can restrict this application and turn it down, personally.
Well, like I said, that's, all I can do is what's in my purview.
I appreciate that. No, you worked hard on it. I understand. I do. And that's, you did what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, and that's, like to get it out, we don't want that come up and then I say, I need $1 million to move those or whatever. That way, that could be quite a shock. I've seen that happen. So we want to make sure that everybody understands. And like I said, I think we could work on the street itself. That's the other issue of getting something in writing that street's going to, it's going to have the right compaction and be paved. Of course, after that point, then it will still be on us.
Aren't they already required to make sure that when they do that street, that it is compacted correctly and curbed correctly, whatever?
Well, on the parking lot, but then the street itself, as this came up and then that part came in, that's when I said, with that amount of traffic, we of course, the old parking lot there and
sure,
we want to make sure that it.
I think that is in itself is a legitimate request. I don't have any problem with that. Not at all.
Ms. Green, I think you had a question?
No, Terry answered them, or Dwayne answered them. for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Meyer, you had another question?
Isn't the street paved? And they did agree to put a curb on that
Yeah,
south side.
that's part of what we'd asked originally to
They're
demarc
gonna do a
that off.
curb
Yeah.
and the street's already paved.
Well,
It's as paved as most streets in town.
with the condition that street is in now, of course, the old parking lot and not thin as it is, once that construction's over, that street's gonna be a mess. So, we've dealt with that and got bit in the past, so we don't wanna have to come in and rebuild the street for this project.
Mr. McClung?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve this application subject to or contingent upon mutual agreement to the completion of the street and curb at Jordan Street.
You mean improvement?
Pardon?
Improvement of the street and,
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
completion.
I'll
A
second
mutual
that.
agreement between the city and
Yeah.
the developer, the builder.
but I mean, you wanted the improvement, not the completion. You said completion.
You want to see proof that they're going to do it.
I want to, it's got to be mutually agreed upon, that Dwayne's going to, he's going to have to
Yeah.
pretty much have his way on that. I understand that, and that makes absolutely good sense. So, I'm not sure how to word that part.
Okay, you basically, I think your motion is that you want to approve this condition upon the improvement of Jordan Street with curb and, street and curb.
Right, to the satisfaction of the,
To the Public Works Director.
yeah, let's see how that goes.
I'll second that.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Discussion. Ms. Snyder?
I'm still having a problem with everybody else saying no. When police says no, don't you want to ask them why? And we've got a chief out here. It's really concerning to me that everybody, except for trolleys, has said no. I don't understand. They're the ones who know these things and that have to deal. How can we just say, too bad, and ignore them without questioning them or trying to find out why they said no and what it would take to say yes?
Would you like to question, Chief Brian?
Brian, you want to come up?
No, this is not quite, we're talking about, this isn't a, we're discussing the motion right now. So Brian's not interacting on the motion. The motion is to approve. The motion is to approve. You made your opinion known. That's fine.
No,
Okay.
because I didn't get to get this question because I didn't know he was going to end the previous discussion.
I made note that we were ending the discussion. Mr. McClung made a motion. All right, do we have any other discussion?
So no, you don't want to hear from the police chief.
That's not the question. Do I have any other
Yes,
discussion on the motion? All right, can I get a roll call, please, ma'am?
Yes. Mr. McClung?
Yes.
Mr. Meyer?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Nope.
Ms. Harmon?
Yes.
5-1.
All right. Therefore, the City Council had decided to override the Planning Commission appeal and grant the approval subject to the condition as noted on there. So that brings us up to our next order of business is get a motion to discuss ordinance to the waive bidding for the bucket truck.
So moved.
Second.
All right. This came up the last time. Mr. Weaver said we needed an ordinance on this. We already had the resolution. So this is the ordinance waiving the bidding to purchase a bucket truck using the grant funds from the USDA Rural Development Agency. Any comments? Ms. Green?
I move that we assign the ordinance a number and read it into passage for the
First reading.
for the first reading.
You got a motion? Get a second?
Second.
Was that Ms. Harmon?
Yes.
Okay. Motion and a second. All in favor, or any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so moved.
The ordinance number will be 2300. An ordinance to waive bidding to purchase a bucket truck using grant funds accepted from the USDA Rural Development Agency and declaring an emergency. Whereas the city of Eureka Springs, Arkansas is in need of a bucket truck to replace Public Works' current bucket truck, and whereas the Public Works Department researched the cost and availability of acquiring the needed truck and determined that the unit can be purchased, and whereas the city has participated with the state procurement system, and whereas it is the recommendation of the Public Works Department that the city contract with VersaLift per the state procurement system. Now therefore be it hereby ordained by the City Council of the City of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, Section 1, the requirements for competitive bidding in the acquisition of the bucket truck shall hereby be waived to allow the purchase of the truck from VersaLift. Section 2, cost shall hereby be accepted up to $107,019, of which $50,000 shall be from grant funds received to allow for a timely purchase. Section 3, all ordinances and resolutions and parts thereof in conflict with this ordinance are hereby repealed to the extent of such conflict. In the event any one or more of the provisions contained in this ordinance shall for any reason be held by a court of competent jurisdiction to be invalid, illegal, or unenforceable in any respect, such invalidity, illegality, or unenforceability shall not affect the remaining provisions of this ordinance, and this ordinance shall be construed as if such invalid, illegal, or unenforceable provision or provisions had ever been contained herein, had never been contained herein.
All right. Ms. Green?
I'd like to read ordinance 2300. Oh, suspend the rules and read an ordinance.
No, we need to approve.
Oh, we need to, okay.
That's all right. Get a motion to approve it on the first reading.
A motion to approve it on the first reading.
Second.
I got a motion and a second to approve ordinance, was it 2300?
Yes.
On its first reading. Any discussion? Mr. Thomas?
I have a simple question. I was going to ask it during our budget discussion, but my hearing aid wasn't working. This $57,019, will that come out of street fund into the budget and then into the new bank account, or will it go directly from street fund into the new bank account?
Mr. Clark? I'm glad you stuck around. I think I know the answer.
Ask your question again, please.
The $57,000.
Right.
Which is in the carryover street funds.
Right.
Will that money be taken from the carryover funds, put into the general fund, into our budgets, and then taken out of our budget to go into the new bank account?
Or will it go directly into?
Or go directly into the new bank account?
It will go directly into the new bank account.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other comments? All in favor of ordinance 2300?
Aye.
Aye.
Any,
Aye.
any opposed? All right, so moved. Mr. Thomas?
I move to suspend the rules and read ordinance 2300 by title only on its second reading.
Second.
Discussion.
I second it.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We're waiting for a roll call.
Oh.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Ms. Harmon?
Yes.
Mr. McClung?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Meyer?
Yes.
6-0. Ordinance 2300, ordinance to waive bidding to purchase a bucket truck using grant funds accepted from the USDA Rural Development Agency and declaring an emergency.
All right, get a motion
Okay.
to approve,
I move to suspend the rules and read.
To
Oh,
approve,
to approve,
Slow down.
approve
well, we've got
for the second reading. All right. Ms. Green wants to make a motion to approve ordinance 23 on the second reading.
Yes.
Second.
Second.
All right, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
Now I'm going to try it one more time. I move that we suspend the rules and read ordinance number 2300 on its third reading by title only. There. Yay!
All right. Any discussion?
Ms. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Meyer?
Yes.
Mr. McClung?
Yes.
Ms. Harmon?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ordinance number 2300, ordinance to waive bidding to purchase a bucket truck using grant funds accepted from the USDA Rural Development Agency and declaring an emergency.
All right.
Approved.
Motion to approve ordinance 2300 on its third reading. Yay!
Second?
I got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. McClung?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Harmon?
Yes.
Mr. Meyer?
Yes.
6-0.
Mr. Thomas?
Yeah, I move to read the emergency clause.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Mr. Meyer?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. McClung?
Yes.
Ms. Harmon?
Yes.
6-0. Emergency clause, section 4, the city council, upon the recommendation of the Public Works Department of the city of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, finds that because of the needs of the department for certain scheduled repairs and other needs, it is in the best interest and for the health, welfare, and safety of the citizens of Eureka Springs to purchase this one vehicle as described above for the city, that an emergency is hereby declared to exist, and therefore this ordinance shall go into full force and effect immediately upon its passage.
All right. All right, thank you very much. I know Public Works thanks you also. All right, that brings us up to our next item. It's get a motion for discussion of adding the nepotism clause to the employment manual.
So moved?
Okay, get a second.
Second.
All right. Who wants to lead off? Mr. Thomas?
Yeah, a couple of, well, you have the sample nepotism policy here, and I have a couple of things to preface that with. First of all, the handbook was passed by ordinance, so we cannot actually add anything to the handbook unless we did it by ordinance. So what I'm suggesting we do tonight is just simply approve this and approve this for addition to the new handbook that will be coming out. And then as a little bit of history, the current personnel handbook was passed in 2007 when Danny Wilson was mayor. I'm told by a couple of people who worked for the city before that, that the previous handbook actually had a nepotism policy in it, and somehow it just got accidentally dropped. So what we're really doing is putting it back in. So at this point, I'm just making a motion to approve this nepotism policy for inclusion into the new handbook.
I'll second that.
All right, discussion? Ms. Snyder?
Dana Joy?
Nope,
She wasn't then.
Dana is what she
Yeah.
was saying.
Oh. Her last name's Wilson on all of the,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's,
But anyway, so,
Dana.
Ms.
Just so
Snyder,
you
did
know.
you have a question?
Okay, so it did just get accidentally dropped out, wasn't that,
I have no idea.
Bob?
it disappeared. I don't know what happened to it.
Okay, so nobody knows if it was voted on, or?
It wasn't voted.
We had that one section time when we lost a lot of stuff.
We don't know what, you know.
Okay.
All right, anybody else?
Just,
Yes, sir, Mr. Meyer?
should we let the city attorney look at this before we approve it?
It would be nice and smart.
Mr. City Attorney, I sent you a copy of this, I believe, didn't I?
Yes, you have.
Okay. I think along with Municipal League Attorney's comments also.
Very good.
You have the Municipal League Attorney's comments. I don't think we have anything from Mr. Weaver.
Basically, I would say the same as the municipal league about it.
All right, y'all have gotten that email, I believe, or the comments?
I think basically their concern was item number 6,
Oh, yeah.
the romantic relationship.
And I have to tend to agree,
Mhm.
because that would tend to be hard to enforce. I think that was the whole reason for looking at this, was people living together, romantic, is awfully hard to enforce. And the marriage and everything and family relationships, all that makes sense. So if it's okay with the city council, we could strike that.
okay.
At number 6?
Well, it's right above number 6, it says romantic
5.
relationships.
Yeah.
Yes,
Number 5.
yes.
Okay, so number 5. Okay.
Ms.
Can that
Snyder?
be the form of a motion or something then?
Well, Ms. Snyder?
Okay, I remember when we worked on this before, and Tim, I can't remember if it's when you and your wife were on at the same time, or if it was another time, but we did have questions in regards to we being such a small town, it's invariably going to have connections. Do you remember that discussion, Terry, Butch?
The reason, what this says is direct supervision.
Well, no, I know what this says. I said, do you
That,
remember when
that
we-
allows a husband, wife, unless they're, except for direct supervision.
Do you remember when we had the discussion on council? I know at least one of you two was on there at the same time, if not both.
Not for me, Mr. McClung.
No,
Because we're such a small town, that was part of what our problem was. Somebody's related somewhere all the time, it seemed like. But I remember, maybe neither of you are on that year. But, yeah, I remember a very lengthy discussion on that. Because that is a problem.
Mr. Thomas?
This particular handbook was passed in 2007, and you were not on council.
No, I started late that year.
Is that when the nepotism was on, the 2007?
That's when that's when our current handbook was adopted.
Right.
And there is no nepotism policy.
Right, no, we had the discussion later. I didn't mean when we were first putting it on. We were having that discussion later. And like I said, it might have been when Tim and his wife, because Tim was our city attorney and his wife was a council person. And
She was council person in 2002.
that was when it first started, the discussion.
All right,
Doesn't matter, point being, we are a small town, and this can be hard sometimes. Is there anything that can be said or done in regards to that? Or is it strictly because it would be supervisor position? Butch,
I'm sorry.
is it strictly because we're now naming supervisor position, that's what'll clear everything?
Well, it says in here, direct supervision. Yes, I believe that's.
Okay, so that should cover our small town problem?
Perfectly.
I think so.
Yeah.
I guess I need to get a motion if y'all agree with eliminating the romantic relationship in number 5, and then in number 6, it says, in the comment, it says, for example, a new romantic relationship. Mr. Thomas?
So I move to amend this proposed policy by eliminating references to new romantic relationships or romantic relationships in number 5 and number 6.
Okay.
Just the last line in
I'll
number 5?
second that.
All right, any further discussion? All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, so moved. Thank you, Bob, for putting that together.
Yeah.
See, that was on the amendment.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Oh, that's
now we
right.
need to,
Now we need to vote on the, make a motion to approve the proposed nepotism policy for the handbook.
I move that we accept and put in the proposed nepotism policy for the handbook.
Amended nepotism
Amended.
policy.
we already had that motion.
Isn't that for January?
No, we made the motion to eliminate the word verbiage in there. If I'm not mistaken, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so
All right, did I get a second?
Are we talking to January?
I'll second it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we're hoping as soon as possible. I mean, unfortunately, we have we got a little staffing problem.
If we can make it in
A
January.
second. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. That brings us up to ordinance for to and continue the levy on the property.
Motion to discuss?
Get a second?
Second?
This is our standard annual ordinance that we have to pass to give it to the county so they can go ahead and levy this tax on our property. So there's nothing new. Mr. McClung?
I'd like to make a motion that we assign this ordinance a number and read it for its first reading for passage.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, got a motion to assign this a number and read for first reading. And second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
And if we could please read it twice tonight, that would fit the quorum court schedule really well.
Okay.
The ordinance number will be 202301, an ordinance levying a tax on all real and personal property in the city of Eureka Springs, Arkansas.
Number again, please, first?
2301.
1.
Okay.
Be it ordained by the City Council of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, that Section 1, levy on personal property. A tax of 4.4 mils on the dollar is hereby levied on all personal property situated within the city limits of the City of Eureka Springs, Arkansas for the following purposes. For the general fund, .0038. Secondly, for the Fireman's Relief and Pension Fund, .0006 mils. Section 2, levy on real property. A tax of 4.4 mils on the dollar is hereby levied on all real property situated within the corporate limits of the city of Eureka Springs, Arkansas for the following purposes. 1, general fund, 0.0038 mils. 2, fireman's relief and pension fund, 0.0006 mils. Section 3, collections. The 4.4 mils above levied on the personal property are to be collected at the regular collection of taxes by the collector of Carroll County, Arkansas, at the same time and in the same manner that state and county taxes are collected in the year 2021. The 4.4 mils above levied on the real property are to be collected at the regular collection of taxes by the collector of Carroll County, Arkansas, at the same time and in the same manner that state and county taxes are collected in the year 2021.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2301 on its first reading.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. McClung?
I'd like to make a motion that we suspend the rules and read ordinance number 2301 for its second reading by title only.
Second.
Okay, motion by McClung, second by Ms. Green. In discussion?
Ms. Harmon?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Meyer?
Yes.
Mr. McClung?
Yes.
6-0.
All right.
Ordinance number 2301, an ordinance levying a tax on all real and personal property in the city of Eureka Springs, Arkansas.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2301 on its second reading.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Meyer seconded Mr. McClung's motions. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. We will bring this back to our next council meeting. And incidentally, for the viewing public and for the record, this ordinance does not change the tax rate at all. It's the same as it has been for last year, and the year before, and the year before, and the year before. So
We just have to do it every year.
we just
Right.
have to do it every year to make it legal. So, all right, that looks like that concludes our business for tonight. Brings us up to agenda settings. Ms. Green?
I'd like to put back on the agenda something we took off on feral cats.
Feral cats?
Yes.
What do you want put on?
What was it that we had, Susan? Do you remember?
Just if we had a plan for feral cats. 'Cause
Okay.
we had several citizens that were concerned over the number that were within city limits.
I'll second it.
Can you refine your discussion?
I would like to put a discussion on solutions of feral cats inside the city.
Is that permanent solutions?
It could be.
All right, well, it's a solutions anyway.
Yeah.
All right, and I think I had a second.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, anybody else?
I'd like to add a discussion of the lack of dog licenses that are purchased each year.
I'll second that.
And the reason for that is.
We don't need a reason. We've got it on,
All right.
all right.
Carries.
Mr. McClung?
Not as necessarily as an agenda item, just a reminder that I would like to hear from the hospital in the near future.
Sure.
Please.
Okay.
That's on my agenda to bring before the council.
Thank you.
All right,
Susan wants something.
I'm sorry, Ms. Harmon?
Yes. We've received a lot of information about parks today from different sources. So I'm not sure how do we...
I would suggest that you read the information and then talk to me about it, and we can go from there.
Well, there's several different ones, so, okay, we can do that, rather than...
The option that the council has, it's up to the council.
Right.
Council has the ability to remove the commissioners. I cannot do that. The
Okay.
council's the only one to do that. So
That's
if
all-
council
that's
wants
all-
to bring that up to remove the commission, then you can put that on the agenda. Otherwise, I don't think this is on the appeals. It's on a grievance procedures, and I don't think the council, at this point, the grievance procedures have not been through all of the procedures yet. The final appeal, after going through the procedures, is to the city council. We're not at that point.
Okay. All right, then I'll skip it for right now until we can read through everything and get more information.
This is information from what I'm seeing. If the council wants to bring up and get rid of commissioners, you have the ability to do that.
I understand. I'm gonna let it pass right now until I can read through some more
Okay,
information.
that's
Just a quick question.
But thank you for clarifying that.
A quick question about that. I don't believe we have the ability to remove.
I'm sorry. We're just speaking.
You said we have the ability to remove commissioners. I don't think we have the ability to remove CAPC commissioners or HDC. Is that correct?
I don't know. I'd have to double check on that.
Okay.
I think it's still, I don't know.
Okay. Would you check on?
Mr. Weaver, do you know?
He quit early.
He thought he was getting out of here.
I've looked that up before. I'd have to look it up again.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
I'd have to look up too.
Okay.
We'll get back to the council on that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anything else? All right, Mr. Thomas?
My comments. I listen to NPR all the time in my car, so I'm in and out. So I'm listening to people, and I don't know who they are because I wasn't tuned in when they introduced themselves. But I heard the gentleman last week made a statement that just really impressed me. He said that our entire country is on edge. We are all crouched like tigers just waiting to pounce. And I know that I'm on edge. I certainly see people around me being on edge, and I think we just have to all be careful and try to restrain ourselves when we're ready to jump down someone's throat.
Ms. Green?
Okay, just to kind of answer something for Terry, I have kind of a nice public announcement. The Humane Society has partnered with a nonprofit organization called Spay Arkansas, and they will be offering 3 times a month at the Humane Society at the clinic, low-cost spay and neutering and some vet assistance. And the feral cat fits into this because you can have a feral cat neutered for $10, and the director there is also working on a program, and he's really connected up with Jimmy Evans, and if the city will provide us some assistance like cages and stuff, we will be eligible for grants that we can start a catch and release where feral cats will be free to neuter. That's all.
Ms. Snyder?
I agree with Bob. I'm still looking for a house for my husband again. Going crazy. Anybody wants him, he's free. Just holler. Go ahead. I'm done.
Mr. Meyer?
It's come to my attention, since there was one in my front yard this weekend, that there are several animals around town with distemper. And when animal control came out, he said that he has dispatched at least 40 this year. Foxes, raccoons, whatever. And so if people are avoiding getting a dog license because their dogs haven't been vaccinated, which is generally the case, part of the case, because it costs a lot to vaccinate their dogs could catch distemper easily. They don't even have to come in contact with one of these animals. If that animal laid in the yard and the dog goes and rolls in it, they could possibly catch the disease. So we really need to get people to step up to the plate, buy their licenses, make sure their animals are vaccinated, and I don't know how we do that. How do we get folks to obey the
I shouldn't interrupt, but the Humane Society also does, and we should put this out there, has a low-cost rabies and vaccine clinic, and let's we can work at getting it more out there, because you are correct.
We've got more dogs than we have people in town.
Yes,
and,
yes.
it should fully fund the animal control officer. I mean, he came over within 20 minutes.
Yes.
Thanks.
Ms. Harmon?
Should we tell Tim that he's still on sound?
Mr. Weaver, you're still on sound. If you want to mute yourself, please, sir.
Oh, sorry.
Turn off Bonanza.
It's been entertaining.
Have your son turn it off for you.
Sorry, Susan.
You guys are so lucky, because I just get these sounds that are coming from space, and I have no idea what it is.
Me too.
Ms. Harmon?
I have nothing.
Mr. McClung?
No.
Y'all couldn't beat that?
I'd like to go ahead and remind people, it's still not too late if you haven't done the census, to please go online and fill out your census form. It means a lot to the city, and it's very important. Speaking of street funds and city funds, that's part of how we operate. So please go out, and it's also important because it's setting up your district for voting, deciding which our boundaries are. So it's important on several different counts. Also, I want to let everybody know and invite everyone to a town hall meeting about the HDC Historic District Commission ballot issue, which is going to be this Sunday, October the 4th at 3 p.m. here in the auditorium, or we will be streaming it on the city YouTube channel. We're having a COG coordinator from the Arkansas Historic Preservation, Kathleen Barrister, come up and help direct the forum. And she's going to be talking about a lot of information that it's come to my attention that people don't understand what the Historic District Commission does. So she's going to give it an outsider's view on what the Historic District Commission does, the pros and cons. You know, the Historic District Commission protects our historic district, and since 1970, we've been proud of our listing on the National Park Service. This listing is purely honorary. Our Historic District Commission is the only way that we legally have to protect the Eureka Springs historic resources under Arkansas state law. Without an HDC, any historic structure can be torn down, and any new building of any style, of any materials, can be constructed to replace it. So the Historic District helps us maintain our sense of identity. You know, everything story about Eureka Springs leads about the whole town's been on the National Register of Historic Places since 1970. In 2005, we were listed for years we've been with local state significance. In 2005, we were upgraded to national significance. That's a great recommendation for our city and brings a lot of people into our town because of that. Because of that integrity, because of the Historic District Commission's been reviewing these changes for over 42 years. So the care and protection and enhancing historic district character allows us also the growth in the new construction. But, you know, I want everybody to be aware of this meeting coming up, because I think it'll be a good opportunity for you to ask questions and to see what the facts are instead of what you're hearing on the street, or if you may not know. So please attend if you get the chance. Mr. McClung?
That is, you go to YouTube and just type in "live at the odd," no space. That's just the same one that Ron's using.
I think so.
Oh, it's not? Oh, it's not?
City of Eureka Springs, type in City of Eureka Springs.
My error.
It's like at the
But
top.
Go
yeah.
into...
City
wait a
of
minute.
Eureka Springs, no space. We have no,
Repeat that again. It's YouTube.
we have no space.
Eureka Springs,
Yeah.
We're spaceless.
Ron,
are.
would you give the whole proper address, please?
All right. Thank you, everybody, for, it's been one of our longer meetings, but I think it's been very good. Do
I
what?
asked him to give the whole proper thing.
Ron, would you repeat your...
Each stream has its own address, but you can do a search, City of Eureka Springs, and you'll get all the city streams.
Okay, thank you.
And past.
Thank you.
And that channel does have a does have a link, and I guess either Kim or I can send it to everybody.
Live at the Odd's a good one, too. Trust me.
I think that's got the music.
But it's a good one. Darn good.
All right. Thank y'all for your patience and.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank y'all.